Footage has recently surfaced from a UK school showing a Pakistani-born teacher giving lessons on Islam to British pupils. The clip has sparked widespread debate, and for many parents, it's yet another example of how far our education system has drifted from its original purpose. We'll dive into this story in today's video, but before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Right now, only 12% of viewers are subscribed, so join the community and help us grow. Let's be clear, schools are meant to educate, not indoctrinate. Parents send their children to school to learn reading, writing, maths, and science, not to be taught religious doctrine, especially when it's not part of their family's faith or beliefs. The growing trend of religious and cultural lessons that focus on one particular faith raises real concerns about balance, neutrality, and respect for all backgrounds. Britain has a long tradition of secular education, where schools provide knowledge and values that unite rather than divide pupils. When classrooms begin to take on the role of religious instruction, particularly in ways that prioritize one belief system, it risks undermining that principle entirely. This isn't about attacking anyone's religion or background, it's about asking whether our schools are still serving their primary role, to educate children in core subjects, to prepare them for life, and to promote shared values that bring people together. If parents start feeling that schools are drifting into cultural or religious agendas, trust in the education system will continue to erode. We need transparency, balance, and a firm commitment to keeping classrooms focused on learning, not ideology. Because once schools forget their purpose, it's the children who lose the most. Have a watch of this clip. Our schools should be places of learning, not platforms for promoting any particular religion or ideology. Parents trust the education system to provide a balanced, neutral environment where every child is treated equally, regardless of faith or background. If lessons begin to prioritize one belief system, it risks dividing communities instead of uniting them. The government and education authorities must ensure that schools stay focused on core subjects and shared British values, not cultural or religious agendas. Ultimately, education should empower children with knowledge, not shape their beliefs. It's time to bring our classrooms back to their true purpose: learning, fairness, and respect for everyone. In other news, a former senior army officer who sexually assaulted a teenage soldier who later took her own life has been sentenced to 6 months in prison. Warrant Officer Michael Webber, 43, previously pleaded guilty to the attack on Royal Artillery gunner Jaisley Beck, 19, during a stay at Thorney Island near Emsworth in Hampshire in July 2021. He appeared before Bulford Military Court Centre on Friday and was sentenced by the Judge Advocate General Alan Large and a military board. During the incident, Webber engaged Gunner Beck in a drinking game called Last Man Standing before touching her thigh and trying to kiss her. Gunner Beck pushed Webber, then a 39-year-old battery sergeant major, away and spent the night locked in her car before making a complaint to her superiors in the morning. However, the incident was not reported to police, and Webber wrote a letter of apology to Gunner Beck from Cumbria. She was found hanged in her room at Larkhill Camp in Wiltshire at about 4 p.m. on December 15, 2021, 5 months after the incident. At the conclusion of her inquest in February 2025, Assistant Coroner Nicholas Reinberg ruled that the Army's failure to take appropriate action made a more than minimal contribution to her death. Judge Large told Webber, at some point in the early hours of July 13th, you told Gunner Beck she was beautiful, you put your hand on the back of her head, you leant in to kiss her, and you touched her thigh. She had the courage and good sense to tell you to stop and told you to go to bed, but you persisted to the extent she considered she wouldn't be safe from you even if she went back to her own accommodation. He continued, "The next morning she reported the incident to her family, her friends, and her chain of command. Following the report, the unit decided to deal with you with minor administrative action. You were interviewed and you accepted your behavior had been unacceptable. You wrote a letter of apology. Your career continued completely unaffected and you were in due course promoted to Warrant Officer 1. The judge told Gunnar Beck's family the sentencing was part of the process for dealing with what happened to her during her time in the army. Prosecuting Commodore James Farrant told the military court on Friday that Weber and Gunnar Beck had been away for adventure training on Thorney Island when the incident took place. He said, "On the first night of their training, both of them stayed up in the bar drinking, and in fact the two of them were the last two present in the bar. At some point, after they had been drinking together for some time, Mr. Weber told the complainant that she was beautiful. He put his hand on the back of her head in order to kiss her, and he also touched her thigh. She asked him to stop and told him that he should go to bed. However, he continued to the extent that Gunnar Beck feared she would not be safe from him if she went to her accommodation. The court heard Gunnar Beck first hid in the toilet, standing on top of a toilet seat so Weber would not see where she was, before locking herself in her car overnight. She reported the incident the following day, and Weber was dealt with by a minor administrative action, involving him being interviewed and writing Gunnar Beck a letter of apology. He added that a service inquiry later found Gunnar Beck had been subjected to a number of inappropriate behaviors by personnel senior to her in the months before her death. During her inquest, it emerged Gunnar Beck had received thousands of messages from another senior colleague, Bombardier Ryan Mason. Jaisley's sister, Millie, read a statement to the court where she described herself as repulsed at Weber's actions, adding, "A man who was old enough to be her father had taken advantage of her." The court heard Weber, who is divorced with an estranged teenage daughter, served in the army for 22 years and 128 days before leaving in August this year. He now works as a lorry driver. Representing Weber, Matthew Scott said, "He is devastated by what happened to Miss Beck. He doesn't seek to shy away from his responsibility for what happened. He accepts through me that his actions on that night on Thorney Island contributed in some way to the tragic outcome when she took her own life in December, about 5 months later." Mr. Scott said the Army Service Inquiry Report published in October 2023, and the inquest identified many other reasons which contributed to Miss Beck taking her own life in the way she did. Wiltshire Police investigated a complaint of harassment submitted by Gunnar Beck's family after her death, relating to Mr. Mason's behavior, but found the evidence did not support a criminal harassment case. The force also investigated the incident involving Weber, but declined to refer it to the Crown Prosecution Service, Commodore Farrant added. Following Gunnar Beck's inquest, Wiltshire Police transferred jurisdiction of the case to the Defence Serious Crime Unit, and the service prosecuting agency charged Weber with sexual assault in August. He pleaded guilty to the charge on September 5th. Minister for Veterans and People, Louise Sandher-Jones MP, said, "The death of Jaisley Louise Beck was a tragedy, and her loss continues to be felt across the Army and wider defence community. My thoughts are with her loved ones, and we remain profoundly sorry for the failure to protect her. Today's sentencing does not diminish the profound loss felt by her family, friends, and the wider community, but it does represent an important step on the journey to justice. Let me be clear, there is no place for criminal or unacceptable behaviors within the military. All those who choose to serve our country, particularly our newest recruits, must be able to do so free from abuse and with the dignity and respect they deserve. We are honouring Jaisley's legacy by bringing about crucial reform to provide a place where people are proud to work and have faith in the service justice system. The Army has accepted the failings identified by the service inquiry in full and has also responded to the recommendations to improve service life across its culture, policies and practices. However, there is more work to be done. As a minister and army veteran, this mission is deeply personal to me, and I am committed to driving the necessary change to prevent this from happening again. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.